From being one of the greatest UFC champions to leaving the organization completely, Eddie Alvarez has found a new home in BKFC. Now he's going up against Chad Mendes, and this fight has everyone excited. Let's get into everything you need to know about it.
That was a crazy experience. Never thought in my life I'd be able to say I was a bare-knuckle boxer. So it's pretty cool, just a cool experience. So thank you guys very much for all the love.
Just a few days ago, Dave Feldman, the president of BKFC, made a special announcement. Feldman let everyone know that Alvarez had signed with his MMA league. And if this wasn't enough to get fans excited, he also said that Alvarez was going to have his debut bare-knuckle fight on the MMA Hour. It looks like Eddie's going up against none other than Chad Mendes, who you might know as a former UFC featherweight title challenger. The 165-pound bout is going to take place very soon, on April 29 to be exact. That's like a month away. It looks like BKFC 41 is going to be very exciting, especially because there's another highly anticipated fight going down. I'll get more into that in just a bit. For now, let's look at Eddie Alvarez leaving one championship and entering free agency. In case you're wondering, they didn't have any beef. In fact, the split happened amicably, in Eddie's own words. In his 4 fights with one, Alvarez had a 1-2 record with 1 no contest. Timothy Nastuhan finished Alvarez quite brutally with a first-round knockout in his 1 lightweight World Grand Prix debut. After this, Alvarez didn't back down, as everyone expected him to. He ended up re-entering the tournament as an alternate, defeating Edward Fuliyang via submission, but was forced to withdraw from the Grand Prix due to injuries. After Luri Lapicus was unable to continue following shots that were initially deemed illegal, Alvarez was given a no contest. The disqualification was later overturned to a no contest by 1. Alvarez lost a unanimous decision to future lightweight champion Okre Yoon in his last 1 fight in April 2021. At 39, he announced his decision to leave one and become a free agent in September 2022. It looks like Alvarez is very happy to have joined BKFC, and so is Dave Feldman. He said that signing both Luke Rockhold and Eddie Alvarez at the same time is a huge deal, calling it a big doubleheader. It's a huge step, definitely, having big names like them from the UFC join. Even Feldman agrees and says that it's going to add big power to his organization's growing roster. I completely agree. Once everyone hears that the likes of Rockhold and Alvarez are signing with BKFC, it's definitely going to blow up, especially because Rockhold recently announced his unretirement. All in all, it looks like BKFC 41 is going to be a huge night, and MMA fans from everywhere are sure to be tuning in. Now, let's get into everything you should know about Eddie Alvarez's opponent in BKFC 41, Chad Mendes. At 37, Mendes 2 made his BKFC debut pretty recently at Knucklemania 2 in February. He absolutely finished Josiah Alvarez in a 4th-round TKO that left everyone with their jaws hanging. This was impressive, especially because this outing was his first ever professional competition, other than the usual grappling events ever since he retired from MMA in 2019. Right now, he's a lightweight, and it looks like it's going to be really fun watching him and Alvarez in a ring together, especially because they're in completely different weight classes. Eddie Alvarez is also going to be extra determined during this fight. After all, it is his first one back in the US since 2017, and he doesn't want to end his career without returning to fight in America. In fact, it's completely unacceptable to him. That's the whole reason he left one anyway, because he wanted to fight in the US again. If you're an OG MMA fan, you probably remember his 2017 fight against Justin Gaethje, the last time he went up against someone in this country. Alvarez, a UFC veteran, has a lot of thoughts about other people's fights in the UFC, like the Conor McGregor versus Mike Chandler bout. The Underground King gave a long prediction about McGregor versus Chandler, and it looks like he's convinced that Chandler will lose. A lot of UFC veterans seem to agree with his predictions for other people's fights. But what will Alvarez's first fight back in the US against Chad Mendes look like? When you compare them side by side, Alvarez is the 102nd welterweight, according to the worldwide rankings, while Chad Money Mendes is at 395 on the world featherweight rankings. It's definitely going to be very interesting to see these two face off at BKFC 41. Right now, it's safe to say that the odds are in Alvarez's favor. Here's why. Well, for starters, he has a 30-9 record compared to Mendes' 18-5. It's clear that Eddie has a lot more experience. Not only this, but over half of his fights have been KOs, so that's definitely something that Money should be watching out for. Of course, Mendes has a pretty good record too, with 8 KOs and submissions, along with 2 by unanimous decisions. Here's the main disadvantage that Chad Mendes is going to have though. He has way too many big breaks between his fights. I mean, he last fought in February. It's going to be difficult for him to fight when he's out of practice for so long. So it's very likely that we're going to see a loss of physical fitness. Not to mention, I don't think he's going to be in a competitive state of mind after getting back in the ring after so long. Another huge disadvantage that Mendes has in the bout against Alvarez is that he's much lighter. To put it into perspective, at 167 centimeters, he's at 65 kilograms, while his opponent at 177 centimeters weighs 70 kilograms. This definitely puts Eddie Alvarez at a huge advantage. And just between us, I think it's going to give him a boost of confidence before the fight too. Now, for the things you should know about Chad Mendes. At first glance, it might look like his career follows a path similar to Alexander Gustafsson. The OG MMA fans probably know what I mean by this. It looks like Mendes can go up against the best, but can barely give a good enough fight to defeat them. Honestly though, he's more of an Anthony Johnson in my opinion. Anthony, aka Rumble Johnson, is known for his brutal hits. Even though it looks like this guy only has strength, he also has quite a bit of technical power. Sadly, this is often overlooked because of how ruthless he is. When you look back at Mendes' early days in the sport, he was a force to be reckoned with just because of his athleticism alone. Unfortunately though, being able to close distance isn't enough. Lucky for Mendes, he had real power. Some may even call it life-changing. To some, it looks like the fight with Alvarez puts him at a disadvantage because of his weight. But others think that this isn't true, especially because his hands are heavy enough to punch a hole in the ribs of Cody McKenzie. He's not a grappler, but his confidence is amazing. So when he tried to backflip Ronnie Yahya, the world champion of grappling, it made for one of the most epic and slickest double-leg takedowns of the game, like ever. This is definitely something Alvarez should keep an eye out for. Chad Mendes isn't intimidated easily. Plus, he's made some major technician developments when it comes to his striking game, all thanks to Dwayne Ludwig. Because of Ludwig, Mendes has now become a very elite striker who everyone fears, all because his strength is an asset, not just a clutch to him. It looks like the Alvarez versus Mendes bout is going to be intense. I personally can't wait for it.
I paid for not sticking to the game plan. I paid for it. That was not the game plan.
You're a great warrior in victory and in defeat. How are you gonna get back on the first again?
And that's all I have for all you need to know about Alvarez versus Mendes.